Let's take a look at developmentally appropriate practice in early childhood education programs. And this document comes from the National Association for the Education of Young Children, which is a professional organization in early childhood. And this practice statement of early childhood education serves children from birth to age 8. So the purpose of this document is to promote excellence by providing best practices framework for the professionals in the field. We want to also, this document, by the way, is revisited regularly, and the validity and currency of core knowledge and practices is assured. It is to complement other position statements of the organization, such as the Ethical Code of Conduct. So critical issues, part of the reasons why this document was created, we want to reduce learning gaps and we want to increase the achievement of all children. We want to better connect into education for preschool and elementary school children. So we want to help children transition. We want to recognize teachers' knowledge and decision-making as vital for educational effectiveness. And we also want to make sure that we continue to apply new knowledge to these critical issues. So core considerations, and these are the basic things that we all have to remember. Knowledge about child development and learning, so knowing what is age appropriate. Knowledge of each individual child, knowing what's individually appropriate, and then knowledge of the child's social and cultural context, so their culture and first language. So the development and learning of young children, here are some core things we need to keep in mind. Movement is their natural state, so requiring them to sit still and listen is not age appropriate. Learning happens by self-initiated exploration and play, and so we step back and we let the child initiate. We just set up the environment so that that will happen, and then we facilitate and support that. We use real objects or three-dimensional representations of real objects, and this is crucial in forming mental pictures of the world. Two-dimensional pictures do not help that process. They need to use all of their senses. One-on-one interactions with other people form the basis for learning. So children need to form positive relationships with other children and with the adults in the environment and with their families. Inform children what is appropriate social behavior, and then reinforce when that occurs. Rather than focusing on the inappropriate behavior, our job is to focus on the appropriate behavior and then reinforce that when it happens. Facilitate and support children's efforts and talk about the facts of what they've accomplished. So give them details about that, and rather than just praising them and saying good job, tell them the facts about what they did that was appropriate. You helped pick up all of the blocks. That's not your judgment, it's a fact of what they did that was appropriate, and you're reinforcing that appropriate behavior. All domains of development are important and interrelated, so we have to make sure that we focus on the social emotional domain just as much as we do the cognitive domain. Also the physical development domain. So all of those domains of development need to be focused on. Learning and development follow sequences and build on each other. So as we observe children, we need to determine what skills they have accomplished and then plan to facilitate and support the development of the next step, rather than just assuming because of their age they've accomplished all the skills. Development and learning proceeds at varying rates, and so just because it's an age expectation for 3-year-olds, it's unlikely that an individual 3-year-old will have accomplished all of the skills even of the 2-year-old level. And so we have to make sure that we help them before we jump forward to the 4-year-old level or even the 3-year-old level. We have to make sure that they've accomplished what comes before so that they can be successful in establishing what comes next. Development and learning results from a dynamic and continuous interaction of maturation or genetics and experience or the environment. Early experiences have profound effects, so that makes it really important that we provide appropriate early experiences, and development proceeds to greater complexity, self-regulation, and representational capacity. So we slowly develop and mature and build, but we have to make sure that we set a good foundation for that continued development. So consistent relationships with responsive adults promotes development. So making sure that we're focusing on the needs of each individual child and looking at them as a person individually. We want to also facilitate and support positive relationships with their peers. That will help them develop social skills. Children learn in a variety of ways and require a wide variety of teaching strategies. Excuse me. So we want to make sure that we use lots of different techniques. So multiple ways of presenting information and multiple opportunities. Play is an important context of learning, and it sets the format for that and really play is how children learn, and so that should be the main avenue for presenting curriculum. Challenges facilitate learning, so we want to make sure that we challenge the children to stretch forward but not frustrate them. So we have to find a balance between challenges and frustrations. Children's experiences shape their motivation and approach to learning, and that is so important in early childhood, because if we force them to do things that are not age appropriate or individually appropriate, they're going to lose their motivation to learn and explore and discover, and they're going to shut down in regards to that because they'll become frustrated because the expectations are not reasonable. So the guidelines for developmentally appropriate practices are that we create a caring community of learners where we learn together, the adults and the children and the families together. We teach to enhance development and learning, so to facilitate and support that. We plan curriculum to achieve important goals. We assess children's development and learning based on everyday observation and factual documentation as they're going through their everyday routine. And we establish reciprocal relationships with families.